It's good, y'all. Another part. I've been getting questions lately. And I had to do some deep diving too to really get some good answers, because there's science on this topic, and then there's metaphysics, and there's mythologies on this topic, and it took intuition too, to really get answers that I'm looking for, right? So I could present what I got, right? So the topic is the moon. And what is it exactly? How did it get there? Because according to science, they're going to say that when Thea hit Tiamat, that's what created the moon, which isn't necessarily true at all. And the moon wouldn't be this perfect fucking ball either, you know, or sphere, or disc, or round, whatever you want to call it. It wouldn't necessarily look like that. Okay. And the earth doesn't look like that fucking perfect sphere that they're showing either, okay? Because you could look up WSG 84 and they'll talk about geoids and shit, and that's not the shape that they're showing. So this shit ain't no perfect fucking nothing either. Okay. So the moon. The moon is an Anunnaki spaceship. Okay. That was brought here by the Anunnakis. Okay. And what they did was that they created the flood here on this earth. The last flood that a lot of the mythologies are talking about, when we're talking about Noah's Ark, we talk about all these things like Gilgamesh and things like that. They're talking about the last flood that happened. Okay. And with that last flood came the moon. Alright. And Anunnaki, remember, is a general term for many fucking groups of aliens. So I'm talking about the specific group, because there's two groups within that group. Okay, the ones in the water and the ones out the water. So I'm talking about the ones out the water. I'm talking about the ones doing the things, making the moves, making the plays. Okay. Because there's good and bad in everything. There's duality in everything. You're going to see that the more you study everything, from religion to freaking society to science to everything. There's always a flip coin to everything. Right? Flip coin. There's a flip side to every coin. Okay. So, in creating this flood, where they were going to go underground and shit, and then come back and restart again. Okay. They brought the moon to look like they were saving people, right? So they're acting like they were saving people. They brought the moon, okay, and it stopped the flood, helped stop the flood. Okay, they used it to help stop the flood. Alright, and they were perceived as the heroes to some. Alright, the ones who didn't remember. Okay, and that's how they painted this story. Okay. There's cultures that talk about the time before the moon. Okay. Aristotle wrote about it. Okay. There's Native American cultures that wrote about it. Asian ones. Okay. There's African ones, like the Zulu. And the Zulu talk about the two brothers that brought the moon. Who are the two brothers? We're talking about Enki and Enlil. Like, we're talking about the same story, just from different cultures being passed on throughout time. People's languages are different. Their phonetics are different. Their cultures are different. Their words are different. Okay, so the stories come out different over time. Okay, but they're talking about the same shit. Alright? There was a time before the moon. Okay? There was a time with the two suns. And I'll talk about that in a separate video. Okay? Right now we're talking about the moon, and what is it? So the moon was brought here. And it hasn't always been here in our atmosphere. Okay? And there's many moons. There's not just one moon. Okay? There's more than 5. There's at least 5 moons. Okay? You can talk about those 2 dust clouds. Okay? That are right next to the moon. Right? Then you talk about little, what they call quasi-moons. Okay? Which are just smaller ships. Okay? And actually, every moon is a spaceship. Moons aren't natural, y'all. Moons are frequency weapons that they use. Okay? So, basically, Saturn was the original sun at one point. Okay? And that's the god that they fucking worship. Okay? That's the same El, Elohim, Yahweh, That's the whole shit. That's a dollar broth. That's all that shit. Okay? And they worship him as Saturn. Okay? Kronos. Alright? And Saturn is the judge of time. Okay? This is who they worship. So Saturn sends those frequencies, okay, throughout the fucking universe. Alright? And what the moons are there to do are enhance those fucking frequencies. Okay? So without the moon, there'd be fucking energies that we wouldn't feel, or we wouldn't have to feel. Okay? And it helps enhance their weaponry, okay, and their systems that are also part of the pyramid structures that create certain fucking fields around the motherfucking earth and shit. Okay? So a lot of this shit we're seeing in the sky ain't even there, number one. Okay? If there was to turn off the projectors and shit, you wouldn't even recognize what the fuck's in the sky. Okay? Because all the fucking destructions they did in this solar system, that should look like a fucking war zone on top of a bunch of fucking spaceships all surrounding us. Okay? So that's what the fuck that should have looked like. Alright? But we talking about what the moon is. Okay? What the moons do. Okay, so moon's a frequency weapon that they use against us. Okay, and without the moon, women wouldn't get their menstrual cycle. Okay, that means y'all be able to give birth to the day y'all die. Okay, you wouldn't go through your periods. Okay, which, since we're motherfucking divine essence, we figure out ways to enhance that. So since emotions get enhanced, you could fucking manifest better, right? So we make the best of everything, but it's not made to be that way. Okay. And it's been attacked on the divine feminine for a very long time. That's why we're in the positions that we're in right now. Okay? In society. Where people think they're better than each other. Okay? It's very barbaric. People like to kill each other. We're going by the lowest motherfucking frequencies, which are instinctual. Okay? Which are supposed to be evolved past that. But apparently, motherfucking society had different ideas. Okay? So, that spaceship is used for other things. Okay? And no human has been there, like when they talk about NASA, that whole shit. None of that. Alright? The way to get there is they take your fucking soul when you die. Alright? And when they take your soul, they take you there to blank your fucking memory and bring you back here. Okay? So it's a soul harvesting machine, frequency motherfucking weapon. An enhanced frequency weapon. Okay? That's what it's used for. Alright? And then there's a bunch of them. And they use them as fucking bases too. Alright? So there's people there. And they're doing experiments on people, and they're doing all types of shit. Okay? And with that motherfucking frequency, they're able to manipulate people's feelings and emotions. Okay? So time, the way time is dictated was through the sun. Always. And then they brought the moon. Okay? And then they gave us a different celestial time with the moon to add. Okay? So now religions that have the lunar calendar, right? Like the Jews, since they're the chosen ones for these people, they go off these things and they run the machinery and they run their motherfucking plans and shit. So that's why they motherfucking run off a lunar calendar. Okay? Anyone who worships the moon is worshiping that alien fucking energy. Okay? So when it comes to the witchcraft doing spells and shit, everything's energy. You can harness energy. It's just know what you're harnessing. Okay? And that's why a lot of those blood sacrificial rituals, you gotta do them at night. Why would you have to do them at night? Okay? It's because of who the fuck it's for. Alright? Where did this magic come from? Who brought it? It's the draconian blood magic. Okay? And that shit is all exaggerated bullshit that you don't need. Okay, that they're just making you partake in taking another motherfucking spirit's plasma life force energy. Okay, and using that energy to harness a motherfucking spell. Okay, and if you know about karma and dharma, you know why all the motherfucking those voodoo practitioners and the other ones be like, yo, don't play with this shit. Okay, because they know they're treading fucking lines, alright? They shouldn't be fucking treading, and they're playing motherfucking games that they shouldn't be playing. Okay? That's why you talk about karma and dharma and shit. But magic isn't a scary thing. And you don't have to tread certain lines. Okay? You could do what the fuck it is. Use your intentions, right? You could do whatever. Candle, motherfucking. You could just do words, spoken, thoughts. You could do fucking water. Alright? Whatever elements. Okay? Because you are the elements. So whatever elements, you can manipulate elements through intentions, right? And through symbolisms to bring out certain results. Okay? As long as you're purging everything that's inside and you're doing the right thing. Okay? Because if y'all doing fucked up shit, ain't nothing gonna happen, ain't nothing gonna work. Okay, y'all? So pay attention to the magic that's going on, what you're doing. Okay, if you're doing any moon magic, just be aware of what that is exactly. Okay, because science is going to tell you a bunch of things, but then you could look at a lunar discharge. Look at a lunar discharge, y'all. That shit's a plasma motherfucking spaceship, y'all. Just like those plasma UAPs that they talk about in that report and shit. That's what the fuck that shit is. Alright? That's why there's a plasma cloud between the earth and the moon. Alright? That's the frequency that's fucking, it's creating, it's vibrating, right? Creating frequencies towards earth, okay? And those frequencies are creating motherfucking plasma clouds. Okay, y'all? That's how powerful this fucking machine is. Okay? And they're gonna talk about, oh, but the moon has craters, or it was hit by motherfucking asteroids and shit. Yeah. There's a scientific experiment conducted, right, where scientists recreated the craters on the moon using plasma. So they already recreated the moon using plasma, y'all. And then you see that old ass video with the guy that no one could ever find any information about him, right? With the plasma moon guy, the old dude, no one could find information about him. It's weird, okay? And it'd be easy to brush off if he didn't say so much in the video about his previous scientific endeavors and shit like that. And it's like, why are there no files on this guy then? Okay? And that all has to do with that. Alright? That they're trying to sell you that the moon is some type of rock reflecting light off the sun, which is not necessarily the case, because the moon has its own heat signature on the inside. Alright? So the sun isn't heating up the fucking moon on the inside, just like the sun isn't heating up the earth on the inside. Alright, y'all? Even if it's a fucking plasma, okay? Because actually the sun is cold. Alright, we're gonna get into that in another video and shit. And there's science behind that, alright? Mr. Eric Dollard, alright? Motherfucking one of the only people to practically recreate most of Tesla's works. Alright? A dude who's scrubbed by the scientific community, okay, because he doesn't believe in relativity or quantum and none of that other crazy shit, okay? And he actually can not only explain the science but recreate it with inventions himself, okay? So they don't like that. They don't like that he created a motherfucking he created a fractal galaxy in his fucking lab using fucking like tubes and frequencies. That's it. Alright? So there's a lot of shit about this universe they're not gonna tell you and shit. Okay? They're gonna tell you like the basic cosmologies and the standard fucking models and shit, but they won't get into the other shit. Alright? Like Alphen's fucking galactic circuit, right? And his model, and how much he contributed to plasma physics and won a fucking Nobel Prize. And he ain't believe in that whole gravity forming motherfucking and shaping the universe. He ain't believe in none of that shit. Alright? And you can look up his works. Okay? You can look up people like Arp, right? And his cosmology and shit like that. There's so much science and shit out there that's contradictory to the mainstream fucking version of reality that they feed people. Okay, and they're gonna make you feel stupid for looking into those fucking other concepts of the universe. Okay, when there's literal crises in every fucking, there's a crisis in the standard model, there's a crisis in particle physics, there's a crisis in cosmology, there's a crisis in damn near every motherfucking field of science. Okay, and they're gonna say because a few things are true, now they're gonna base their whole model on these mathematical motherfucking principles that don't even explain nothing. All they could do is quantify things using vectors and shit, and then you could describe things pretty well, but you can't explain what the fuck is causing these forces. They don't have a lot of explanations. So it's cool that we could calculate things and fucking engineer some shit up. That's dope. But people really want fucking answers to these questions on what the fuck they looking at, alright? People been studying the sun for thousands of years, and people been studying the moon for thousands of years, okay? And there's shit that they don't talk about that fucking astronomers for hundreds of years are talking about the second moons, and there's 3 moons, and there's all these different things that now it come out in science, but they still don't talk about it. Alright, there's a bunch of planets that they don't talk about that are within our solar system, okay? And there's a bunch of other things. And they also try to take away things from us, right? Like Pluto, okay, which is big in astrology. which is something why they take it away, because they try to make astrology seem woo-woo bullshit. Okay, so when they were able to sweep down to the rug, they was able to throw Pluto out. All right, and Pluto is a motherfucking planet, and it got fucking energy. Okay, and it's named after a fucking god for a reason. All right, they know how to harness these energies and shit. Okay, and they doing it behind closed doors, whether you know it or not. They doing spells all the time on people in society, the motherfucking planet. They been doing it for thousands of years and shit. Okay, and not a lot of people are aware of that. Okay, and it could get broken down as simply as holidays. Alright, but they're actually out here doing rituals too. So it's not about just days where they're harnessing energy based off certain star alignments and shit like that. Alright, it's deeper than that, y'all. Okay, and when you get your powers back, you realize like you can harness these same energies for good. So why not? You know, let's do a spell for the earth. Alright, people gotta talk about, oh, spell work, blah blah blah. Just talking is spelling. Okay, you casting spells just talking. So get out of the fear mindset of these things. When people are saying things and then you taking it to its most negative connotation, all right? Because we could literally talk about any topic and you know a motherfucker always want to bring it to the worst fucking end of that shit. You know, the motherfucking most negative aspect of that shit. There's always that one motherfucker you gotta be like, bro, shut the fuck up. Like, we trying to fucking build here and you always motherfucking breaking shit down. Like, you your destructive motherfucking mindset. Like, goddamn, bro. Fuck. But that's what's gonna happen. You know, people gonna get knowledge and there's two sides of a coin. So people can view this shit on some negative shit. It's like, damn, I'm getting all this knowledge and it's like, yo, I'm building. I'm making myself better every day. You know, I'm learning shit. I'm getting better spiritually. I'm tuning more in. I'm working out. I'm eating healthy, all this shit. And it's like, I'm seeing people and they're still at the same level they was when I was at my level. And now I'm growing and they're still here. And that could be viewed in a negative way. It's very like, oh, it's sad that, you know, I'm going through this awakening and I can't bring these people. I can't bring that. But, you know, you gotta stop putting the negative end of every fucking conversation in the forefront of these conversations, dude. Like, you know, it's a beautiful thing that you're able to be aware of these things and then fucking help guide people. And you have to understand that it's not your motherfucking job to fucking bring people where they gotta go. You could bring them to the pond, but that's it. That's all you have to do. Okay, and the fact that you're doing it, you're divinely protected. Alright? People don't know about their divine protection like that. They're just super divinely protected. Okay? Even through all their frequency weapons. Frequency weapons as big as the moon. Can't fuck with y'all. Alright? With things simple as crystals and other things that you use to protect yourself and your frequencies that you could block out that are being sent to you. Okay? Because that's how powerful of a being you are. Alright? You are motherfucking related to the celestial bodies up there. Okay? So if anything, you would look at the moon as a little fucking brother. Okay? And you look at humans as just, you know, little fucking, like, you know, I don't want to say children, but they need to be guided because, you know, people operate on this very animalistic, instinctual, fear-based mindset. Okay? And when you do that, you bring out the worst within our species, which for now I'm gonna call humanity. But, you know, we are of different motherfucking backgrounds, all of us, okay? Because a lot of us have celestial ancestors. And then when we talk about our meat suits, you know, a lot of beings are crafted up, okay, in different fucking ways, okay? And a lot of them got destroyed within the flood, all right? A lot of these creations and shit, all right? And there's races that survived, okay, were different fucking creations on top of other beings like Sasquatch and shit like that. And then little people. Okay, so there's little people and they was calling them pygmies and shit like that. And then in you know, like Ireland, they call them leprechauns or some shit. And there's cultures all over the world that talk about little motherfucking people. Okay, and these people are a different fucking race too, alright? And they were drafted up, but they motherfucking survived along with other things like Bigfoot. Okay, so Bigfoot is a collective consciousness that actually remembers a lot of shit, okay, from when they were conceived up until now, which is, you know, thousands of years, all right? So they don't have millions of years of collective consciousness, but they have thousands of years of collective consciousness, okay? So do humans, but we gotta tap in and shit. They're more like open and expressive since they hide their very tight community and they only communicate to the highest shamans or spiritual motherfucking essences that bring themselves their way, that would even be able to experience them because most of them are on a higher vibrational fucking dimension. Okay, so you gotta vibrate at a certain level to even see a motherfucking Bigfoot, alright? Or one of these little fucking people that be up in mountains, little forests and shit that be fucking with people, okay? But the natives have different traditions that you could wear certain garments, okay? Or you could paint yourself certain ways or certain things, and they would allow you to go through these places unharmed or untouched or unfucked with, okay? But a lot of these fucking entities are tricksters and shit. They like fucking with people, okay? But they're not gonna fuck with the light workers, okay? So dressing yourself up will be not only a sign of respect, and be letting them know your ranking as far in this motherfucking earth, okay, in this realm, all right? The fact that you would even see them and know how to fucking bring an offering, all right? That would be a big deal to a fucking group that don't deal with lower dimensional beings like that, okay? To deal with a lower dimensional being that understands that they're even existing, okay? So I brought this really, really left, okay? But, you know, the moon isn't what they're telling y'all, all right? And it's like a holographic plasma projection, okay? That's why things like lunar waves exist, all right? But they can still use it, all right? Because remember, y'all, this physical reality isn't all there is, okay? There's more beyond this reality that meets the eye that they don't necessarily talk about, because they want to control people and they want you to buy everything, okay? And we're in a society right now where money dictates everything, all right? In this culture, in this time, in this age, which has been like that for, you know, whatever, thousands of years now, okay? So do y'all researches, do y'all homeworks. Don't believe what I'm saying, you know. Really take it in intuitively, you know. Do some research on some cultures that talk about the moon, you know. Believe your ancestors, for you believe some motherfucker who's getting paid a paycheck, all right? And tap in with me and tell me what y'all learn, what you agree, disagree with. You know, if I channeled something that you don't necessarily vibe with, you know, let me know. You know, let's open this conversation, all right? Because I don't even think it's a conversation being held in a serious manner, because it does seem ridiculous, you know. But when you know there's only two theories, that either Africans banged Neanderthals according to science, or we were genetically spliced. If we were genetically spliced, you know, the moon being one of their spaceships is attached to their story, you know. So it's something to take serious, all right? So I'm here, y'all. I'm driving, you know, waiting to get some food. You know, about to get some chicken and rice, y'all. Some beans, probably, or maybe some yellow rice. I don't know. Feel me? But yeah, y'all. On that note, take care. Have a good day or night, wherever y'all at. Whatever knowledge y'all learn, put me on. Until then, peace out.